My name is Marcel Hansen, and you're listening to Small Habits, Big Changes. Let's dive in. Welcome. I'm reminded about reminders, that without reminders, we as a people would be very forgetful. I'm curious, do you consider yourself forgetful? Maybe you consider yourself truly self-aware. I think we speak of these attributes and these states of being as if they were constant. And to do so really is a disservice to life as we know it, because they are not constant. There is nothing constant about us except our breath. And even that has variation. The fact that it exists, yes, is constant. It exists in an inhalation and exhalation between those two actions. There is a state of being as well, whether the lull between the inhalation and the exhalation or an intentional hold or pause. I guess nothing really is constant. Reliable, yes, as certain as I am sitting before you in the coagulation of mass that you are able to see or hear, I am certain that the sun will rise tomorrow as it did today, and as it will for every day as long as we know it. But even the sun doesn't shine in the same place, the same hemisphere, 24/7, 365, or 366 as the case may be this year. But it does shine somewhere. Have you ever stopped to think of that? It does indeed shine somewhere. It never goes to sleep. It's not like it's going down and it becomes the moon and up comes the moon. It's just shining on a different person than you, a different part of the world. I was reminded just how impactful the little things are. That little, small, little thing, that little habit, that small habit truly does and can make a big change. I hit a bucket of balls today at the golf course and at the driving range. And for those of you who don't golf, or for those of you that do, or for those of you who try, like so many other sports, there's a lot involved. The body mechanics, a certain way to stand, a certain way to hold the club, a certain way to bring it back, a certain way to follow through. Now, not everyone is exact, but if you watch the pros, you take the top 10 guys, top 10 girls on the tour, they look a lot. You could just, same with tennis, the way people serve. You can just turn the light out and watch a shadow and you can tell that they're actually serving, or you could tell that a shadow of a golfer is actually a golfer and they're swinging a club. So much so, universally, like 95% of the mechanics, the setup, the execution, the follow through, it's the same. But there's one little thing that you can do. And if you do everything else right, you can shank it, slice it off into the woods. And in golf, that's really what I think everyone strives to do, to control the club face. This much, like 1 millimeter, open or close on a club face, no matter the distance, 90 yards, 400 yards, obviously it's much worse. The trajectory can mean absolutely the difference between off in the woods and dead center on the fairway. Huge difference. It's a difference between golfing and not, pretty much. And it's similar in a lot of other things, in a lot of other sports. For those of you who play and those of you who can imagine playing tennis, a serve is really, the success of a serve is predicated on a point of impact and the angle of the racket when it strikes the ball determines whether it's going to end up in the bottom of the net, beyond the baseline, or in the serving box. Basketball, I watched the NCAA March Madness and wow, just wild. Everybody has their own flair on maybe how they hit the golf ball or how they serve a tennis ball, and certainly how they shoot a basketball. But the key, again, is that point of release and how the ball's leaving the hand, the fingertips, the palm, how is sent on its own trajectory towards the basket. Same with baseball. where bat actually comes in contact with the baseball is going to make all the difference. You hit early, you're going to foul off as a right-hander down the first baseline. You get behind. Sorry, I switch hit, so that was the left for me. You edit right there. So same in baseball. If I'm a switch hitter, so I often confuse this, but suppose I was hitting on my left side, left-handed hitting, then if I get out of that pitch, I get out on it early, I'm going to hit it. I'm going to either foul it, pull it out to the first baseline, or I'm going to hit it down the first baseline. If I hit it late, I don't hit it as fast. It's crossing the plate more than it would be. I'm behind. Then the trajectory has to be, if I can't pull it, it's going to go down third baseline or foul off to the third base side. The opposite is true for a right-handed batter. I think it's really easy. It's easy for me as an athletic person, someone who's played sports. It's easy to see how these things translate, how this law translate, that there is a moment in time where the impact is the greatest, where the intention and the execution is crucial, where 1 millimeter can make the difference. And if you don't play sports and you can't imagine that, think of when you're driving and it's raining out. Maybe it's hard to see. The windshield wipers are on, not intermediate, but pretty steady. It might even be dark. And you come around a corner that has like road construction. I remember when they were building a large part of the 405, and I just happened to be headed out of town in my family's 28-foot motorhome, the 1972 Cabana. I come around an on-ramp, which was being worked on, and they had those concrete pillars, massive. They probably weighed a half a ton each, lining a very narrowed. I was 18 at the time. It was my first time really driving the motorhome too. And I wouldn't say I was white knuckled, but I was very aware. I was very aware of everything. The rain, the windshield wipers, the darkness, how close I was to the concrete barricades, how quickly a nanosecond is. That gave me time to check mirrors on each side. Being 28 feet long and having the bathroom door closed in the back, you didn't have the luxury of a rear view mirror. And this was before any backup cameras were commonly installed in RVs. I was aware of everything. I was aware of how much play there was in the steering wheel. I was used to that because had been driving older vehicles, thank goodness. But I was aware of that there was very little room for error, and that my attention was heightened as a result of what it would mean to not make it through this narrow roadway on my way to a job opportunity. I think most people have experienced narrow fields before they turned all the all the lane signal assists and all that on a car. You actually had to pay attention. Nothing lit up for you. You had to use your mirrors. You had to shoulder check. I was driving around an older car recently and reveled in the beauty of the old mechanics of looking over my shoulder versus just glancing in a mirror or seeing all the dummy lights, as we may call them, that pop up that tell you, oh, someone's behind you, or oh, someone's alongside of you, or oh, someone's stopping in front of you. In many ways, I think my generation has seen the best of both worlds. And I hope many of you out there recognize that's the character building generation that we came from. I think when it comes to parenting or friendships, relationships, whether they be intimate or professional, there also comes a time where awareness needs to be heightened, where you need to read the room, where there are sensitivities, where there are points of no return. And I think that as we progress in so many ways, technologically, maybe in fields of aerospace and even physical, biological development, that we've learned so much more about the body in the last 20 years. Most doctors, unless they were heart specialists, and even then, had no idea what heart rate variability was or how it was influential and how it was influenced, actually. And now you can purchase biometric and learn and assess that data all on your own. No degree needed, no student loan debt, no need to interact with patients. You can become your own best doctor. As we spoke about a couple weeks back with Dr. Janine Krause. If you missed that episode, check it out. Chocked full of golden gems in relation to health and wellness. My point being that a lot has changed in our environment. And what I see and hear from people who reach out, people who share their story, clients, prospective clients, is that with that dramatic change, the coming of the internet, the nuclear family, a little bit more equality, if you want to say that, a bit more representation, a lot has gotten blown out of proportion to the point where it is distorted. And I think that you're safe in the eye of the storm if you're truly there. If you're right in the eye of a tornado or a hurricane, you can survive. But if you're just a few steps off and you get caught in it, you become part of it. And I think people that I've been fortunate enough to hear their stories are feeling as though they are losing themselves in that storm that we call progress. And empathetic to that because it is the masses. And I want to say that there is room in the eye for you to retain your humanity and your ability to find balance, create a life that you enjoy and that you are well in, that you feel great in your body, in your mind, that you actively participate in either your family unit or your friendship or your community in a way that's impactful and meaningful to you. That is still an option. It doesn't appear to be the prevalent option, but it is an option. I want you to know it does exist. It's that little tiny shift that you make now, just like closing or opening that club face. It will make the difference in the trajectory of your life. In 20 years, will you be off in the woods or on the fairway? Not that it's bad to be off in the woods. It's not at all. In real life, non-metaphor life, the woods are a great place to be. Better than the fairway, in my opinion. I would take a thicket of trees over a finely mowed yard any day. But metaphorically speaking, we want to find the fairway. We don't want to veer off so far that we're unable to get the flag, get to the hole, get to our goal. Wherever our North Star is, the fairway is the way that leads us there. And it's not always clear. There are still hazards. There's still water hazards. There's sand pits. There's rough grass. There's wind. There's rain. There's hecklers. There's other people doing other things. There's noises. There's nature. There's always going to be an environment. Let the environment be what's around you, not what's within you. And I mean that sincerely. I see a lot of people lost. I think when your average person has succumbed to big pharma and big food and big education, our public school system, I think when someone feels trapped into making those decisions or just has given up all personal agency and defaults to those decisions as the decisions to be made, you're stepping into the storm. You're stepping out of the eye where awareness and choice can be made. And let it be known it's still a choice, but you're stepping into the chaos that is out of your control. Certainly would be whelming, if not overwhelming to many, could feel like it induces anxiety, uncertainty, feelings of insecurity. If you're anxious or feeling overwhelmed or insecure and unsure about your future, look at where you are. Use the metaphor of that hurricane or tornado, wherever you are in the world, whichever classification you have. Are you in the eye? Because you can exist there. You can be in bliss there. You're still very close to the chaos. You're very close to nature's power and the environment you are in. You are still in it, but it's not in you. Take a look and see if you've made that step. And if you have, like so many have, that hurricane is bigger and it gains more and more population, and it destroys more land and destroys more mindsets and destroys more faith and hope in more and more people by the day. If you've stepped into that, recognizing that is your first step out. Recognizing it is your first step out. Making these small, daily, positive habits a part of your everyday as days progress into weeks and months and years. These are big changes. That's why we named it Small Habits, Big Changes. That small little closure of the club face is the difference between me shanking it off into the side of the driving range and nailing the barrel 150 yards out. That small little bend in the knees, little extra extension in the arm, little flick of the wrist. It's what gets the ball over the rim. The patience of sitting on the back leg, waiting on a pitch, but committing to it and hitting it right where you want. Keeping it between the lines, checking your mirrors, looking straight ahead. Small habits, big changes. Appreciate your time today. I hope that you are spending most of your day looking out a very clear windshield, not dwelling whilst looking into a very tiny rearview mirror. They say they make the windshield that big for that reason, so you can see where you're going. You might need to glance back and see where you came from, but you don't need to spend all day looking in the mirror, not in the rearview mirror. I wish you much awareness. I hope for each and every one of you that you're able to pinpoint the exact little changes that you can make. And by making those little 1 millimeter, teeny tiny little whisker widths of changes, you're able to also course correct much easier. Embrace change. It is our only constant other than the sunshine, the sun shining somewhere on the planet. Yeah, change is our only constant outside of nature. The beauty is we can make the change. And little changes, they're not so scary. They're not bad. And if it's a change that doesn't work out, it's easy enough to go back and change another little millimeter back and then a millimeter in the other direction, or a millimeter this way or that. I wish you well. I wish you clarity. I appreciate your time in listening. And if there's anybody you think needs to improve their golf game or potentially their life, please do share the episode with them. If you're on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment down below. Any questions you might have, join our texting community. The number's on the outro. And until next week, stay awesome. Thank you so much for listening today. If you feel any part of this episode resonated with you, then please consider sharing it with a friend who may also find value in it. And remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And before you go, did you know we have a fantastic free text community? If you want more bite-sized health hacks and reminders delivered directly to your phone, absolutely free, then text keyword YES to 206-483-2960. Again, that's keyword YES to 206-483-2960. And we'll see you on the inside.